Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. We are once again meeting together to go over the book, Whatever Arises, Love That, The Love Revolution That Begins With You by Matt Kahn. I have not been here the last couple weeks, but I was informed we are in chapter 10, The Importance of Slowing Down, which is a subject I think we hear a lot about these days because of the pandemic and stuff. But before I go any further, I'm going to let my friends Samantha, Angel, and Lori jump out and introduce themselves, and then we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Angel Studebaker down here in South Carolina.
Lori Emmons on a beautiful day in Denver.
Good morning, everybody. It's Samantha up here in Indiana, and I can go ahead and get started reading this chapter if we're ready. Everybody ready? All right. So, chapter 10 of Whatever Arises, Love That by Matt Kahn. The importance of slowing down. Whether as a catalyst for awakening or as a way of discovering the passion, happiness, inspiration, and excitement dwelling within you, each spiritual aspiration is fulfilled by cultivating greater integrity with your heart, which begins by slowing down the pace of your life. If I could see better if I take my glasses off here. It is natural to feel hesitant about approaching your life in a more relaxed and gentle way. When run by an inflamed personality, it can be easy to believe that the best opportunities may pass you by if you don't do everything in your power to keep up. In a world where people have been conditioned to accomplish tasks by any means necessary, the purpose of your journey is to learn how to be as aligned with spirit as you are inspired, thriving, and productive. Whether you discover an unshakable desire to live more mindfully or find yourself exhausted by the demands of the day, life will unfold in a way that guarantees the growth and expansion of your highest evolution. If the way you are living is out of harmony with your natural state of being, the universe may create unexpected shifts in your circumstances as a way of interrupting the chaos of your momentum. As a result, you will be slowed down by the perfection of grace until you are able to welcome each experience with kindness, humility, and appreciation. As slowing down occurs, you will find yourself more spiritually aligned with the flow of the universe, so you can take your time with each step forward. This helps you make more inspired, heartfelt decisions while growing in a way that allows your innocence to feel safe. Shall we continue?
Yeah, why not? I think it's in conjunction with what you just read.
Okay.
And maybe after that we can stop and then discuss.
All right. Living your life at a slower speed. Cultivating integrity with your heart is a decision to live in a more relaxed, conscious, and heart-centered manner. While it may come naturally for some, for others, it's a necessary way of proving how impossible it is to miss opportunities you are destined to encounter. Since you cannot miss out on experiences that you are always meant to have, every breath offers you the chance to put your faith into the hands of the universe, to remember how blessed, supported, and divinely guided you already are. It may be difficult to imagine a trusting universe or to know how much you matter when living at a frantic pace. Once you slow down, something more than the ups and downs of personal gain and loss can shine through. A clear sign that you are becoming more aligned with your heart is a feeling of relaxation. When relaxation is felt, it reveals your true masterful ability to be in tune with the flow of the universe while also being active participant throughout your day. Relaxation is always the preferred rate of speed for any level of spiritual exploration. Anytime you rush through your journey, direct experiences of transcendence are replaced with shallow degrees of understanding. Because certain stages of awakening can drastically slow down the pace of your life to a nearly standing still, the universe often prepares you for such a path by making it nearly impossible to keep moving at an unconscious speed. When a feeling of relaxation seems regularly absent from your activities, this is a sign to make necessary changes to slow down and lighten the load of your schedule. Not only is slowing down essential for merging your mind and heart as one, but also for the benefit of a spiritual journey you may not have realized you were already on. It may come as no surprise that when loving what arises, more relaxation enters your field of experience. This invites your heart to feel safe enough to open as relaxation confirms how aligned and balanced you have come to be. Whether your goals are spiritual, personal, or professional in nature, you can no longer fool yourself into thinking how much more relaxed you'll feel once you have earned a certain achievement, especially if the way in which you approach each task pulls you out of balance along the way. As relaxation indicates that you are successfully maintaining integrity with your heart, your nervous system unravels to free you from the heaviness of guilt, shame, fear, victimhood, and obligation. When you slow down and relax into a more natural rate of speed, you create the perfect climate for life's most incredible discoveries to unfold. When relaxation becomes your doorway of awakening, you discover a more honest relationship with life. Instead of dragging your innocence along for the ego's adventure, you are guided to soften into each breath so your mind and heart can be on the same page. As a way of integrating this truth, I invite you to repeat the following healing mantra. I acknowledge that it is essential for the evolution of my being to slow down the pace of my life, no matter the pressures that call out for my attention. In support of my highest evolution, I accept that life will create whatever reality is necessary to give me countless opportunities to reunite with my heart. As I slow down, I welcome the choices that only my heart knows are aligned with the highest perfection of the universe. In discovering my heart as the home I never left, I allow my true innocent nature to feel safe enough to merge into the light of my being as the love that I am.
I am so impressed with Matt Kahn. He seems to be right on the forefront of this evolutionary process that we're all in, whether we acknowledge it or accept it or desire it. It says a lot about not having control over everything like everybody wants to have. I'm in charge of this. I want it this way. And the ego just really gets in the way kind of and tries to be the boss. And it says a lot for really slowing down, having been retired since May of 2019 before all this pandemic stuff. And I've had no choice but to just be still, peace, be still type thing. And then you start wondering about the idea, okay, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? I don't know, I'm just rambling. I'll turn it over.
Morning, Karen, welcome. Glad to see you made it on.
Good morning, and I'll stay as long as I'm not creating problems with the meeting, with the Wi-Fi.
I was gonna jump out and say that I think we all at times have had those moments where we've been so kind of hectic and stuff, and then when we were in some cases kind of forced to slow down through outside forces, we realized that we really needed to have that slow down moment or that time to just kind of somehow, it's almost like the universe kind of knew that, okay, we need to, do something here to kind of force you to slow down so you can kind of recharge or reconnect. And outside of the times when we can do it ourselves, because there are times we do it ourselves. We say, I really just need to unplug, or, take time out, or like me, sometimes every now and then I'll say, you know what, tonight I'm going to just take that nice, hot, long bath and just sit in the bath and just sit there and put on some music and chill out, that type of stuff or something. And when you have those moments, it's weird how after that moment you have this whole new refreshed, energetic feel that you can go out, and now you can go out and do what you need to do. But there's also something to be said about, I think, what he says, that, to the idea of that, kind of what I was just saying, the universe will kind of throw some things at you to help you see that, you need to, slow down. And, it's not always about being this busy bee doing everything, and that there is a lot to be said for just taking in the moment and just enjoying the moment for the moment that it is in that moment, whatever it is, however it's playing out, and not expect anything out of it either. Just take it at that face value. And I noticed, for me at times, when the universe or God, I say God, kind of throws things at me that will force me to just kind of step back and say, and I'm kind of looking back and re-looking maybe at my accident, that being even though it's been stressful, and I have been stressed because I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to pay to get it fixed, and under, some of the other stresses of spending money on something I'm having to put out extra money on that could go back to me. But in those moments, I've also realized that there's something in this that I truly believe I'm supposed to get out of it, and that I'm going to learn out of it too. So that's another part I think we need to understand, is there's something to be learned about coming out of these slowdown periods to carry with us, to keep in mind, so we hopefully don't get back in that so fast pace and need to accomplish this and this and this and this, but enjoying the journey along the way too.
Yeah, I can think of a number of times, back when when I had my pet grooming business, I had my husband's trucking company, and the kids had all their things going on, and I felt like I was running around like a crazy person trying to accomplish everything and get us ahead in every way, and some random thing would happen and it would force us to stop. It's like when we were living at the river, nature would flood our neighborhood just to get I felt like it was like, oh, you're just doing this to me to stop us from doing anything, and yet at the same time, it's kind of like a forced vacation. It's like, okay, you can't go anywhere because you're flooded in, and I'm holding you hostage. The universe is saying that, that's kind of how I felt at some points, and we're just going to keep you here and make you take a break because you can't go anywhere, you can't do anything, you just stuck in the house like you're living on a houseboat for a short, and so it's interesting how that happens, because sometimes it's much more difficult. It's like when everything in our life fell apart back around, what was it, 2008, when the economy had its whoop-de-doo and all of that, and our trucking company fell apart. We ended up with, our house went into foreclosure, my car got repoed. I mean, there was all these different things that happened, and I feel like it was literally the universe going, you need to stop. What you're doing is just, you're not on the path, you're not living your best life, you're not whatever, and it was kind of like that wake up call kind of thing, where you're like, you think you got everything under control, and then you find out you're not in control at all. You have no control over this, and the universe has its own agenda, if you will, and I don't know. One of the things that I do remember a lot from when I was in school, and of course I went to a Christian school, and so there was this kind of concept to just trust in God and that He knows what's best for you. And I rebelled against that in a lot of ways when I was younger, because I'm like, no, I know what's best for me, and but yet at the same time, it kind of also is like to trust in your higher self, or the universe as a whole, or as just some bigger power than yourself, and realize that everything is going to be okay. And it's like, when we are constantly fighting against whatever is going on in our lives, that's when we struggle the most. Or when we are trying to force something to happen in our lives, that's when we struggle the most, and or we have the most conflicts in our lives, and the most difficulties in our lives. And yet when we just kind of relax and allow things to happen, I have this kind of practice that I do with qigong. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with qigong, similar to tai chi, except for it's just a little bit different with the breathing exercises. And one of the movements, I don't know what it's called, but in my mind, I'm saying to myself with these different movements is relax, draw up the energy, take your actions, and allow. And that's kind of it's like a 4-step movement. And when I'm saying that, it helps me to relax my energies and to trust in whatever it is that we're trusting in. I don't even know what it is, whether it's God, whether it's the universe, whether it's our higher self, whether I don't know. But what I do know is that when I'm in a relaxed state, things happen more smoothly. They happen more miraculously sometimes. And when I'm trying to force things to happen, it's always more of a struggle. And or when I'm just trying to work so hard to accomplish something, rather than just allowing it to get done in the time that is natural for it. So whatever. When I try and remind myself to just do things when I feel compelled to do it versus when I think I should do it. And when I do that, things tend to work out a little bit better. And by compelled, it just kind of comes up and I'm doing it without thought of doing it, if that makes sense to you guys.
It does. And I'm going to come back and throw a question at you because of what you were saying and going through what you went through, like when you had the houseboat and all that and stuff, and what a lot of people consider a very bad time, house going in foreclosure, car repo and stuff, and all the things that people look at and say, oh, that's just so bad, and get a very negative connotation out of it. But as you have come I'm going to say to me, it looks kind of pretty much full circle, because you are running your trucking company. You guys seem to be doing good and, stuff and things like that. Have you learned anything out of that previous time that you're carrying with you now and that you're applying in order to allow, I guess, so to speak, God, you, infinite intelligence, however you look at it, guide you and to let things be kind of more flow however it flows, and not struggle against it, or maybe try and force it to be what you think it should be? Sorry to put you on the spot, but it just kind of made me think of that.
Yeah, no, I totally get it, Dan. And when when everything fell apart back then, Chris and I both were working so hard to just make this square peg fit in the round hole, if you will. We were trying to make it happen. But we didn't know. There was so much we just didn't know. And it falling apart, actually, if all that hadn't fallen apart, I wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be. And we wouldn't be in the situation that we're in right now. And that is a tough thing to see when you're in the midst of everything falling apart. It is so hard because you're just like, you're trying with all your effort to hold this, whatever it is, together because you think that is what you're supposed to be doing. And yet it falling apart really was I don't know if I want to say it's the best thing that ever happened, but it is the thing that set us on the journey that we're on. And it is the thing that set me on the journey of personal development and working on myself. And I don't know if it's as much trusting in the universe as it is to just recognize that beyond everything else is that no matter what, I'm going to be okay. I can overcome and get through anything because I've done it before at multiple times. And yeah, some of it sucks. But how much of life sucks anyway? Half the time it feels like there's so many things. I said to my husband, at one point, when we decided we were going to go and do full-time RVing, we had been working so hard to try and build everything back up again, and it was a struggle, and we were going through just a tough time, and everything was stressful and all of that. And I'm like, I told him, I'm like, we have worked our butts off trying to make what we think we're supposed to do happen. What if we just do what we want to do and work our butts off to just, allow whatever to happen on that side? We do it anyway. Why not do it with the thing we actually want? And if it all falls apart, it's okay because we know that we can survive it. It's not like this thing is going to eat us like, ants are eating a piece of rotten food on the ground. It's not like that. One of Chris's favorite sayings that one of his buddies always says is they can't eat you. Sure, they can take your house, take your car, take your money, take everything, but they can't eat you. And I'm like, but yet at the same time, I've been in a number of different situations where, like I was saying before, when we lived on the river, and it wasn't a houseboat, Dan. I was just saying that when it flooded, it was like living on a houseboat because our house was up on stilts. And or like on a raised, the basement was on the first level, and then our living space was on the second level. And when it would flood, the water would be flowing by the house, and you'd feel like you were on a houseboat because you couldn't go anywhere. But even in the worst of circumstances, like back when I'll tell you a good example of things making you slow down. Back when the kids were younger, this is in the late 90s, we were both working our butts off. Chris and I both were, and the kids were young, and we had so much going on. And Chris went to go visit his buddy one afternoon and took his motorcycle for a ride and ended up in a motorcycle accident. And that was a big stopper for everything that we had going on. And we literally stopped everything for a number of days while we were dealing with him being in the hospital. And it's like every time we just get so wound up and so stressed out. You see, like in the movies, the guy that he's the big corporate guy and he's working so hard and he's going crazy and doing this and that and the other, and then he has a heart attack or he gets diagnosed with cancer or he gets whatever, and that immediately stops him from whatever it is, this path that he's on. And I feel like we all have these moments in our lives where we think we're doing what we're supposed to do, and then the universe just smacks us in the face and says, no, you're not. No, stop it. Stop it. I don't know if that answered your question or not, Dave.
No, you actually did, and I think it's something everybody goes through, and sometimes some of us don't learn it as easily or as readily as others of us do. And sometimes we have to go through circumstances like that 2 or 3 times to kind of learn and get it, and finally, and in some cases, I think sometimes we learn we learn it, but sometimes we get caught back up in things, and we have to kind of be reminded of it too. Which I think, being the humans that we are, I think that's a very um, valid statement to say. It's funny, and some of us here, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4 of us probably are old enough to remember the old movie Heaven Can Wait, where he's in the middle of whatever he was doing. He dies, goes to heaven, but then gets sent back down with a different priority. But in that sense, I think that's kind of what the universe does, is kind of steps in, stops us in our tracks, kind of says, okay, you need to learn something from this. Hopefully you'll learn it. You'll start making the changes, you know, to that, so that way you can live at your highest self or your best self or whatever. So that way, when you return, and if we go again, with some of the other books we read, that you know, it's just one of many so to speak, lives that we've lived, and take part of, so that way we can learn and move to the next whatever level of, that overall connection with God, source, infinite intelligence, whatever, that, so that way we can then move on to learn what the next thing is for wherever we graduate to, or if we have to come back, however people look at it, but it's interesting how, to me, I don't know why that movie just popped into my head, but it did. It seemed to fit exactly what we're kind of talking about here, how, we've all had things in our life that have kind of just floored us, brought us, for lack of a better way, to our knees to say, okay, look, this is not what I imagined, not what I wanted, not what I ever expected. But we've also learned, like you said, going back to what you're saying, we can get through a lot of things and come out better, for hopefully most of the time, than worse. And know that if something similar comes along again, it's easier to walk through it and gain whatever else we need to gain out of it to keep moving forward.
It's like, instead of thinking it's all falling apart, it's all falling together perfectly. It's a matter of taking each moment breath by breath and doing the best you can in that moment.
Yeah, that is such a great point, Lori. And if we stop in any given moment and recognize that we're okay right now in this moment, whatever's going on in this moment, we're okay. And the more that we do that, the more we'll recognize we're okay all the time. We just think we're not because of whatever chaos happens to be happening around us. But I think it's difficult because even if we slow down and our circumstances have changed, and it's like when we were full-time RVing, I got into this very good habit of what I felt like was a good habit of a daily meditation, and I was really just focusing on allowing abundance into my life and just kind of staying in this kind of Zen feeling. And then my husband decides that we're going back into trucking. And this is after all the trucking and everything fell apart back, 10 years or 8, however many years before that. He decides that's what we're going to do. And I didn't want to do it because I'm like, I don't want to go through that again, but yet I had been working on manifesting more abundance in my life. And we tend to resist things if they don't come about in the way we think they should. And it's funny because the universe does kind of seem like it has kind of a mind of its own, and yet it's like we say we want something and then we reject things when they come towards us, even though that's what the universe is presenting, going, here's your path. You just can't see it. Here's the way you need to go, but you just can't see it. And but I'm glad that we did what we did at the time, and it's worked out really well. But I can't help having these feelings of fear that it's not going to last, like this is just a temporary thing and that it's all going to fall apart again, because we've had so many times in the past where things fall apart. But yet at the same time, I'm like, I just have to trust that whatever I'm heading towards is what I'm supposed to head towards for whatever reason. And that's a feeling of not being in control, and we don't like to not be in control. We like to control and feel like we have the say so and what's going to happen to us. And I feel like in some respects we do, but then in other respects, there's this underlying part of us that is kind of actually guiding us down a different path maybe than what we think we're on, So I don't know. You just never know. And all we can do is just trust that. I try and tell myself often when I'm really stressed out, is just to trust that I will know the right thing to do in the right moment for whatever is coming towards me or that I'm going towards, and that I just have to keep trusting, and that I stop trying to control every little thing and just allow for whatever happens. Like Matt's saying, it's just love whatever arises. And that is, I feel like that is the struggle of the human condition right there. That's the thing is the struggle is facing every moment with an open heart and being open to whatever comes. Is probably, I can't tell you how many authors that I've read over the years that basically are saying that the universe is trying to give you everything you want, and you're the only one that's blocking it, and yet us trying to control every little thing is the thing that's blocking us from having what we want. We just think we want it in a different way than it's coming at us, I guess. Yeah, I don't know.
I put in our chat here on the Zoom that we love being gods for our lives. We love being the one feeling like we're in, God and in control of everything. But yet when you smack up against the universe too, that kind of flies in the face of how we feel and see ourselves. And going back to your point, yeah, I think a lot of times we do block out and fight with and subvert whatever God has, the universe infinite has for us in store and is wanting to put in front of us, that we don't realize it and we think, no, that's not what I want this. But in actuality, it really is the fulfillment of what we want, maybe not in how we picture it. And I'm going to pose this question for everybody. I think we see some of that playing out just in things that are happening in our world right now, just in different various spots, stuff going on over in, Europe and all that area, some of the things going on, a lot of the chaos and turmoil going on here in the US, in different areas and different aspects. And you can almost see the power struggle of what everybody's fighting against because of their perceptions of what they're looking at. And I'm not saying they're right or wrong on either side or anything, because I have my views, I have my beliefs, I have my thoughts. But it's also making me kind of step back and go, okay, how do I want to respond in all of this too? So that way I don't impact my life and block what I believe the God, infinite intelligence, is trying to put in my way for me to move forward. So that's just a question I have for you guys, in relation to everything that's going on out there. Can you see that some of that struggle out there just from where we're at and in relation to like how we look at it personally and in conjunction with what Matt says?
I don't know. I feel like our world, from everything that I've read in terms of personal development and spiritual awakening, particularly spiritual awakening and that sort of thing, is that, it takes struggle, it takes hardship, it takes serious shit going on for people to get a message, just like when we have things happen in our own individual lives that seem like they're a sucky thing. And sometimes we have to go through things multiple times before we learn that lesson for ourselves. And I think humanity as a whole, a lot of people have been asking for, they want more, they want better, they want, more peace. And in order to have peace, we have to know the difference. We have to understand fully what it means to not have peace. And, for change to happen, you have to have something unpleasant happening in order for us to motivate, if you will, to make a change. I mean, if we look back on history just in the last few hundred years, we can see so many different things, even just here in the US, where changes have been made to our laws because of unpleasant stuff that was happening. I mean, people have to rise up and cause our government to make changes, and the thing is, though, is that if we look at our universe on the grand scale, and we look, our universe is millennia old. It's like so old, and we're only in this tiny little blip of existence right now. But change is all there is. It's always constantly changing from the beginning of time until now. It's this constant change that we are just experiencing. And I think we're always constantly looking at something and going, we don't like it, we want to change it. We're always working towards improving things. So yeah, I hate that we have to go through pain in order to experience positive. It sucks. But yet at the same time, if we didn't have dark, we wouldn't know what light was. If we didn't have happy, if we didn't have sad, we wouldn't know what happy was. And it's such a contradiction, and it just like shaking your head going, this is so ridiculous. Why do we have to have all this ridiculousness in the world, and pain and suffering? And I don't know. Laura, you're unmuted. Did you want to say something there, Dan?
Oh, I guess I bumped again, but that's okay. Yeah, it's hard not to interrupt people's thoughts with your own thoughts, that you can respond instead of react. Or anyway, what I was going to say is, everything has its polar opposite. It's the way the world works. Like you were talking about, you have to know sadness to know the happiness. But I'm wondering how much of it is changed because of good things that are going on, not just sad things. Because it helps you do more good, more happy things. And the only thing that doesn't change is change. It's like we've heard for eons.
Well, and going back to, kind of what I was asking, but I think that a lot of people out there in the world don't realize some of the thoughts that we espouse here and talk about, and because of their own blinders that are on, so to speak, and because it just seems like there's so much overall, how do I best put this? I don't want to use the word turmoil, but there's so much
Expansive possibilities.
yeah, but at the same point, the way I'm trying to word this is that there's so much, and the word that comes to my mind is angst, but in a sense of unsureness out there about, from, in a sense, the collective about everything, if you are following kind of what I'm getting at. And it seems like there's just a lot of pushback everywhere. And I don't know if that's something that, we've seen it before in history, in the past. And I'm wondering, and supposedly we're supposed to learn from history so that way we don't repeat history. But it seems like we constantly repeat similar aspects, maybe not within the same realm or always maybe within the same construct of what the prior history was, but it seems there's aspects out of a lot of prior history that we keep going back through, and it's almost like, how many times do we have to bump up against this, because we do it ourselves in our own lives personally. We constantly kind of go like this until we finally go, oh, it's like that old saying, why do you keep doing the same thing expecting a different outcome, so and then, like you said, you started looking and searching for ways of how can I better look at this and how can I better respond, and be more in tune, I guess is maybe the way I'm saying it, in tune with what is out there, so that way I can best navigate this to my best higher self in connection with God, source, infinite intelligence, however you look at it. And I think we're just on that vicious hamster wheel kind of like thing. If anybody has any thoughts on that.
Oh yeah, always have thoughts. I was reminded when we were talking about, we're supposed to learn from history. I'm like, well, we should learn from our parents too, but we never listen to them. We always think we know better than them, and well, maybe that's not true for everybody, but for a lot of us, I'm like, I shake my head at my parents, just like, and I feel like that's the thing, we kind of look back on our history, our human history, and we should learn from it. We should. But I think that human nature is figuring things out for yourself. And I watch this every day with the kids. I mean, every day, the kids, you tell them, don't do that. You're going to get hurt. Especially our little Christian, that boy, I swear, he is the boo-boo king because he doesn't listen, and I'm like, he is the epitome of the human race. Is that we think we know better, and we want to figure it out for ourselves. We don't want to be told what the right way is, and yet, then we're sitting here, we're reading these books, trying to figure it out. Like, what am I doing wrong? It's like we want it, but we still want to find our own answer. We don't want to be told what the answer is. We want to figure it out for ourselves. And I don't know what it is about humans that is our nature, but that is. And I don't think that's going to change. And
I totally understand what you're saying, but when we try to tell our kids, don't do that, you're going to get hurt, the best way for them to learn is to do it and get the result.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Even unless it's life-threatening.
Right. But that's so true. And, and we have to kind of look at the rest of the world in the same way. And I have to remind myself all the time that, I'm on a different spiritual and health and just everything journey than everybody else around me. They don't have to do things the way that I do it, even though I'm like, you should do this or you should do that. We have this, we love to tell everybody else what they should do. And, we all think everybody else is doing it wrong and we're the only ones doing it right, but I have to remind myself they're on a different journey than what I am. And that's okay. And the whole world is on a different journey than I am, and that's okay. And I have to allow them to have their experience that they are creating for themselves. And we all like to think that, what's going on in the world is, there are horrible things happening in the world. It sucks. But I can't fix it for someone else. Everybody they have to live their own life journey and fix it for themselves, and that's a hard thing to accept when you see someone suffering. It's like yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday we were at a restaurant downtown, and this guy out on the sidewalk was walking by the window, and I can tell he's homeless. He's on some kind of horrible drug because he's just doing all these weird, and his eyes are kind of rolled up in his head. And I'm sitting there thinking, I wish there was something I could do to make it better for that person, but there isn't. That's that person's life journey. That's that is a path that they are working on for whatever reason. And I have to trust the universe that person is going through that because they need to go through that for themselves. And that is a hard thing to accept because we all kind of have this idea that we need to fix it for everyone else, but we can't. Even in our best intentions, even our best intentions can go completely wrong. It's like, you give somebody money that's begging on the side of the road, and maybe they're going to use it for something positive in their life, or maybe they're just going to make themselves worse than they already are. You don't know, but it's not for me to decide. It's not for me to choose that person's path. And can't fix something for someone else. They have to go through it for themselves. That's hard.
That takes me back to this question, and I think you kind of summed it up a little bit, and in a roundabout way, you kind of brought it back around to that Matt's idea of whatever rises, love that. We can't necessarily be the one to fix everything because that's not part of our journey. Our journey is to, with whatever rises, love that and put that love out. And yes, maybe you give them some money and trust and believe the universe. Okay, I hope that they'll use that in a positive, or as we look at it, a positive way. But whatever choice they make, that's the choice that they're going to make. And we have to be willing to trust that by putting that love out and making that choice, that hopefully that ripple effect does ripple out and become a, hopefully a bigger ripple. If more of us do it, then maybe, it can help facilitate change through happenstances that go on in those respective lives that help them to realize, oh, I need to make changes and I need to change my perspective of how I approach this. But sometimes some people are so caught up in what they're doing, they're not even in the right mind to even get to that point. And that's the part I think that's hard. And I think that's hard for us as humans to deal with and look at and see constantly, and in some cases a daily, in here in Vegas, I see it constantly being an Uber driver, going from one area to another, going from a rough area, a bad area, back to a nice area. I see the constant differences. I think I'll use, because I don't want to say inequalities or not in balance, or because once again, going back to base, we can't make those decisions for other people. We can just help, hopefully put what we can out in love. And for me, it's like how Christ would say it: give love out and respect, and hate the aspect of where they're at, but still love them as a person and be able to see that and give that out. So, I think, some of what we talked about has a great way of showing some of this point that we can't fix everything. Hopefully we learn from history and put it into practice and play, so that we can continue to, with whatever arises, loving it and move forward, even for our own lives.
So in that respect, I see it as the ripple effect according to Lori, the ripple effect according to Dan, the ripple effect according to Samantha. Everybody has that. So it's a matter, the song, Jesus Take the Wheel, or whatever you deem as Jesus, and not according to Lori. I'm not the driver. I'm not the judge, the person in control, because I have no control. I've decided, except for how I think about things, how I respond.
And some people would tell you that you are completely in control and to quit making excuses for, acting like it's not your whatever. And I don't believe that. The thing is that we can work as hard as we possibly can and make ourselves crazy and stress ourselves out and work towards an outcome, and it still may not happen the way that we think it should happen. And or we can just allow and quit trying to control and quit trying to have, expectations of other people or other situations or whatever, and just allow, rather than fighting against all of it, and just see what happens. And it'll probably happen. It can happen just as good or as bad. Some people would say, oh, that's just being lazy. if you're not trying to control it, you're being lazy. And I don't believe that either. You know, I would not be here right now in our situation that we're in if I hadn't taken a few years and just done nothing and lived in a camper. You know, I wasn't doing nothing, but basically I wasn't working a job. I was doing a lot of meditating and a lot of walking in nature. And, we had gotten our bills down to basically nothing. We'd gotten rid of everything. I mean, literally let everything go in our lives and lived the kind of homeless lifestyle, if you will. I mean, we had a camper we were living in, but some people would consider that homeless, depending on your point of views in life. And, it just all depends on your own personal perspective. More than anything else. I mean, if I was a single person, I'd probably live in my car for a while just so I didn't have bills and whatnot. Just enjoy living the free life, if you will, and doing whatever and not, I don't know. It's like, but some people would say, okay, you're not ambitious. You're not even trying. You're this or you're that, and I'm like, you know what? Mind your own dang business and quit worrying about what I am or am not doing. It's none you anyway, so as if we don't have enough of our own problems and we're trying to control everybody else. So, yeah.
I like that. We've been on for about an hour. It's getting close to 10 after. So see about wrapping this up. Any last thoughts or anything from anybody before we wrap up? Okay, I guess not. So with that, this has been the Saturday Morning Mastermind. We're in the book, Whatever Rises, Love That, A Love Revolution That Begins With You by Matt Kahn. We'll continue on in chapter 10. Want to thank everybody for being on and sharing their thoughts and views. So remember, we're on Facebook. You can find our Facebook page at Mindset Mastery Collective. Please give a like, thumbs up. If you want to join the group, it's very easy to join the group. If you'd like to be on the panel on the Saturday Morning Mastermind, you can get a hold of one of us and we can help get you plugged in and set up for that to join us. You can also find us on YouTube at Mindset Mastery Collective and see a replay of all the videos we've done from the last 6, 7, 8 years, however long we've been doing this. And also we have a website also called mindsetmasterycollective.com. Has a lot of the same information there as you can find on YouTube, and all 3 ways direct you to us to get in touch with us and to join us. So please give a like, thumbs up, subscribe, anything, whatever on any of those. And please join us next week for the Saturday Morning